Andrew Carnegie is a famous name from the past. His life story is very interesting and full of contrasts. How does a boy born with almost nothing become the richest man in the whole world? Andrew Carnegie is a perfect example of the American dream. This is the idea that anyone can start poor in America and become rich and successful through hard work. He started at the very bottom and reached the absolute top. However, it is important to understand that there are two different sides to Andrew Carnegie's story. On one side, he was a smart businessman who built a giant steel company. His steel helped build bridges, railroads, and tall buildings across America. He changed how businesses worked, but this success came at a cost. He could be very hard on the people who worked for him. His workers faced long hours, often 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. The factories were dangerous and safety was not the main concern. Wages were low. Some people say he used his workers like machines to build his fortune. He fought against workers' groups called unions that tried to get better conditions. His actions sometimes led to violence and death. But there is another side to Andrew Carnegie. After he became super rich, he decided to give almost all his money away. He might be the greatest helper or philanthropist the world has ever seen. He wrote about his idea that rich people must use their money to help society. He spent the last part of his life doing just that. He gave money to build nearly 3,000 free public libraries around the world. He wanted everyone to have the chance to learn and improve their lives. He also supported schools, universities, and music halls. Carnegie's life was also connected to other powerful businessmen. He had a famous competition with John D. Rockefeller, the oil king. They were big rivals. Towards the end of his business life, Carnegie made the biggest business deal ever seen at that time with the banker J.P. Morgan. This sale made him the richest person alive. This is the story of his incredible journey. We will start in Scotland in the year 1835, where his life began in extreme poverty. We will follow his path to America and see how he built his empire step by step. Get ready to learn about a life that was both inspiring and sometimes shocking. 2. A poor start. Andrew Carnegie was born in Scotland. The year was 1835. His family did not have much money. They were very poor. They lived in a small cottage. Their home was just one main room. It was not very big, and the Carnegie family had to share this room with another family. Life was hard for young Andrew and his parents. Andrew's father, William, had a job as a hand weaver. He used a loom, a machine operated by hand to make cloth. Many people in their town did this work. Andrew probably thought he would grow up and become a hand weaver just like his father. But things started to change in Scotland. The Industrial Revolution brought new technology. Factories opened with large, steam-powered looms. These new machines could make cloth very quickly and cheaply. Soon, there was no need for men like Andrew's father who made cloth by hand. William Carnegie lost his job. Suddenly, the family had almost no money. It was a very difficult time. To help the family survive, Andrew's mother, Margaret, began to work. She repaired shoes for people in their town and worked extremely long hours. Andrew saw his father trying hard to find new work, but it was almost impossible. Andrew watched his father asking people for any job he could do. This sad picture stayed in Andrew's mind for his whole life. It showed him how hard life could be without money or work. It became clear that there was little hope for the family in Scotland. Margaret Carnegie had sisters in America. They wrote letters saying America was a land of opportunity. They believed their family could have a better future there. So William and Margaret made a very important decision. In the year 1848, when Andrew was about 13 years old, the family decided to leave Scotland and move to America. To pay for the long boat journey, they had to sell all their possessions. They sold their furniture and everything else they owned. They only kept what they could carry. It was a big risk, but they hoped for a new beginning and a better life across the ocean. 3. First work. The Carnegie family traveled to America and arrived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh was a busy city with many factories and places for manufacturing. It seemed like a good place to find work, but it was not easy for Andrew's parents. They struggled to find jobs that paid enough money all the time. The family needed help to survive. Andrew understood that his family needed another income. So, when he was only 12 years old, he made a big decision. He left school to find a job. He had only 5 years of learning at school, but earning money was more important now. His father found him his first work in a large cotton mill. It was hard work. Andrew worked for 12 hours every day, 6 days a week. The pay was very low, just $1.20 for the whole week. Even though the money was small, Andrew felt very proud when he got his first pay. He was happy he could give money to his family. After some time, Andrew got a small promotion at the mill. He became an engineer's assistant. His new job was to keep the steam boilers running by putting coal into them. The pay was a little better than before. However, this job was frightening for a young boy. Andrew often had nightmares about the hot, dangerous boilers. He dreamed about terrible accidents and fires at the factory. He woke up feeling scared. So, when Andrew turned 14, he looked for a safer job. He found work as a messenger boy at the city's telegraph office. This job paid better too, $2.50 each week. His main task was to ride his bicycle all around Pittsburgh delivering important telegram messages. This messenger job was very useful for Andrew. While delivering messages, he started to learn about the city's business world. He met many important and powerful men. Andrew was smart. He made sure to learn the names of these influential people. He remembered their faces carefully. If he saw them walking on the street, he would greet them politely. He hoped they would remember the friendly messenger boy. This clever idea worked well. Andrew's positive attitude and hard work caught the attention of one very important man. His name was Thomas Scott. Mr. Scott was a high-level manager at the Pennsylvania Railroad Company. This was a very big and important railroad business. Getting noticed by Thomas Scott was a very lucky step for Andrew's future. 4. Learning and growing. Thomas Scott, a manager at the Pennsylvania Railroad Company, liked young Andrew. Scott hired him as his personal telegrapher and private secretary. This was a big step up. Andrew's pay increased greatly to $35 each month. Even more important than the money was the chance to learn. Andrew watched carefully and saw exactly how a major company operated. Thomas Scott saw that Andrew was smart, ambitious, and worked very hard. Scott decided to help him succeed, acting like a mentor. Scott perhaps saw parts of his own poor start and strong ambition in Andrew. This guidance was extremely valuable for Andrew's future. Scott later became the president of the entire railroad company. Because Andrew was Scott's assistant, Andrew also advanced quickly within the large company. He worked very closely with Scott, helping to manage the railroad's expansion. Andrew learned the important details of running a profitable business. Scott liked him and often called him "my boy Andy." However, while Andrew's work life improved, there was sad news at home. After 7 difficult years in America, Andrew's father died. He was only 51 years old, a man sadly affected by the changing times. Seeing his mother's sadness, Andrew made a serious promise to her. He vowed that he would become rich and take good care of her. Andrew learned a lot about business operations, and he also learned about making money itself work. One day, Thomas Scott gave him some advice. Scott told him to buy shares, which are small parts of a company called Adams Express. The value of these shares went up very quickly. It was the first time Andrew had earned money easily, without doing physical work. Scott taught Andrew the important idea of making your money work for you. Andrew continued to rise through the different jobs at the railroad company. Helped by his mentor, he became increasingly wealthy. By 1865, when he was 30 years old, Andrew earned more than $50,000 a year. He felt ready for his next big opportunity. He decided it was time to leave the Pennsylvania Railroad. He moved with his mother to New York City, where they got a suite in a fashionable hotel. He could finally give his mother the comfortable life he had promised. In New York, Andrew began managing a business called the Keystone Bridge Company. From his time working for the railroad, Andrew understood something important. He saw that the country needed strong iron bridges to replace weaker wooden ones, especially for the growing railroads. He saw this as a great business chance. The Keystone Bridge Company built these needed iron bridges. Andrew used the business lessons he had learned. He made sure Keystone practiced vertical integration. This meant the company owned its own iron mills to produce the iron needed for the bridges. They did not rely on buying iron from other companies, unlike their competitors. This strategy gave Keystone more control over production and the ability to lower costs. They could offer better prices and start to dominate the bridge building market. 5. A new idea, steel. Andrew Carnegie was busy with his company, the Keystone Bridge Company. He saw that America needed strong bridges, especially for the growing railroads. Wooden bridges were not strong enough for heavy trains. Iron bridges were better, but Andrew thought about the future. He got an interesting job offer: build a very large bridge over the wide Mississippi River. This bridge would connect the east and west parts of the country in a new way. It was a very important project, but there was a big problem. The Mississippi River was powerful. A normal iron bridge might not be strong enough to stand against the river's current. They needed a much stronger material. That material was steel. At that time, steel was known, but it was very, very expensive. Making steel was also slow and difficult. People used steel for small things like knives or forks, not for huge bridges. But Andrew believed steel was the material of the future. He thought if someone could find a way to make steel quickly and cheaply, it could change everything. Not just bridges, but buildings too could be made taller and stronger. Andrew became very interested in this idea. He decided to take the risk and build the Mississippi Bridge with steel. He started looking for a better way to make it. He traveled around the country. He visited places that made steel and talked to people who knew about materials. For some time, he found nothing helpful. Then he heard about an English inventor named Henry Bessemer. Bessemer had invented a new method to make steel. His invention was called the Bessemer converter. It was a large, pear-shaped furnace. This furnace could turn melted iron into steel much faster and cheaper than before. Before Bessemer, making enough steel for one railroad track took maybe 2 weeks. With the Bessemer converter, it took only about 15 minutes. This was amazing. It was exactly what Andrew needed. Setting up this new process would cost a lot of money, but Andrew saw the huge possibility. He decided to invest almost all his money in Bessemer's new technology. He believed in the idea completely. He started building a very big steel factory, much bigger than most others. He bought many Bessemer converters. He found other people to invest money too. After a lot of hard work over several years, the bridge over the Mississippi River was finished. It was called the Eads Bridge. It was the first big bridge in the world made of steel. It was a great success for Andrew, but people were afraid. Bridges sometimes fell down in those days. People did not trust such a large bridge made from this new material. They thought it was not safe to cross. Andrew needed to show everyone the bridge was strong. There was an old story that elephants would not cross a bridge if it was not safe. So Andrew planned something clever. On the day the bridge opened, many people came to watch. Andrew arranged for a circus elephant to walk across the bridge first. Everyone watched the big elephant walk slowly and safely to the other side. When people saw the elephant was okay, they felt the bridge must be safe too. They started to follow the elephant across. The Eads Bridge opened for business and is still used today. Building the bridge was important, but Andrew was already thinking bigger. He now had a factory that could make large amounts of cheap steel. He realized he could sell this steel not just for bridges, but for many other things. It was time to focus on making steel for the whole country. 6. Making lots of steel. Andrew knew his biggest customers at first were the railroad companies. They needed strong steel for their tracks and bridges. So he named his first big steel factory the Edgar Thomson Steel Works. Edgar Thomson was the boss of an important railroad company. Andrew hoped this name would make the railroad companies happy and buy his steel. It worked. Edgar Thomson himself ordered 2,000 steel rails. Andrew was able to sell steel more cheaply than others because he focused hard on saving money. His rule was, watch the costs and the profits take care of themselves. He tried to spend less money everywhere. One important way was by paying workers less and making them work very hard. His workers worked 12 hours every day, 7 days a week. They only had one holiday each year, the 4th of July. The work was very hard and dangerous. Many workers got hurt and some died. There were not many safety rules or equipment because saving money was most important. Andrew pushed his workers to make more steel all the time. He sometimes made teams of workers compete against each other. When they made a lot of steel, That became the new amount they had to make every week. If they did not make enough, they lost their jobs. Many workers left because the job was too hard. Andrew often hired workers who did not need special skills. They did the same simple jobs again and again. This meant it was easy to find new workers if someone left. While Andrew watched costs carefully, he did spend money on new machines if they worked faster than people. He bought things like big overhead cranes to move heavy steel quickly. This made his factories produce steel faster. He also wanted to own all the steps in making steel. This is called vertical integration. He wanted to own the mines for raw materials, the factories to make the steel, and the trains or ships to send the steel to customers. Owning everything helped him save more money. Even though his business was growing, Andrew wrote a note to himself when he was 33 years old. He promised himself he would only work for 2 more years. After that, he wanted to use his time to help people. He wrote that just making more money was not good for him, but he did not stop working after 2 years. Then, a big problem happened. The railroad companies, his main customers, started having trouble. Too many railroads were built and there was not enough business for all of them. The economy slowed down and railroads could not afford to buy Andrew's steel. Orders stopped coming in. This was dangerous for Andrew's business too. Another businessman, John D. Rockefeller, who sold oil, saw a chance. The railroads needed business badly. Rockefeller made a deal to pay very low prices to ship his oil. The railroads agreed at first, but they lost too much money. When they tried to ask Rockefeller for more money, he stopped using their trains completely. This hurt the railroads even more. Andrew's old friend, Tom Scott, lost his railroad business and all his money. Scott asked Andrew for help, but Andrew said no. Tom Scott died soon after, a sad and broken man. Andrew was at his funeral in 1881. He blamed Rockefeller for Scott's death and wanted revenge. This started a big competition between Andrew Carnegie, the king of steel, and Rockefeller, the king of oil. With fewer orders from railroads, Andrew looked for new customers. He saw that big cities like Chicago and New York were growing fast. They needed tall buildings called skyscrapers. Steel was perfect for building skyscrapers because it was strong. Andrew started selling lots of steel to build these tall buildings. America's cities started to look different, with many new skyscrapers made from Carnegie steel. Andrew's company made more money, with profits over $1.5 million a year, but he was still not as rich as Rockefeller. He needed to find a way to make even more money. 7. Working with Frick. Andrew wanted his steel company to be bigger. He asked a man named Henry Clay Frick to work with him. Frick was known for being very tough. He became a millionaire before he was 30 years old. Frick did not care if people liked him or not. Andrew cared about what people thought, so Frick was useful. Andrew thought Frick could help his company be the best. Frick quickly showed he could help by making good deals and cutting costs. He made workers work harder for less money. Frick also stopped workers from forming groups called unions. These groups tried to get better pay and safer conditions. Frick broke the unions. Frick did the difficult jobs like cutting pay. This meant Andrew could seem like a kinder boss. Frick acted like a shield for Andrew. Andrew and Frick worked together to beat other steel companies. A rival company, Duquesne Steel Works, had new ideas to make steel cheaply. Andrew worried about them. So Andrew and Frick told untrue stories that Duquesne's steel was bad. Customers stopped buying from Duquesne. Andrew also sold his steel cheaper for a time. Soon, Duquesne lost too much money. Frick helped Andrew buy the Duquesne company cheaply. Then they used Duquesne's clever ideas in their own steel mills. Frick started a special club near Pittsburgh for rich men. About 50 important men joined, including Andrew Carnegie. The club was called the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. They wanted a private lake, so they took control of the nearby South Fork Dam. The dam held back 20 million tons of water. 14 miles away was the town of Johnstown, where many workers lived. The club members changed the dam to make it better for fishing, not safer. They made the top flat for a road and made the dam lower. People warned Frick the changes were dangerous and asked him to make the dam stronger. The club did not listen. In May 1889, after heavy rain, the weak dam broke. A giant wave of water rushed towards Johnstown. The flood destroyed Johnstown. More than 2,200 people died, including about 400 children. It was America's worst man-made disaster then. The rich club members used their money and power to avoid trouble. No one was punished. Andrew Carnegie did not change the dam himself. But he was a famous club member and helped protect Frick afterwards. Because of this, Andrew's connection to Frick and the club hurt his name. This sad event was a sign. More problems involving Andrew and Frick were coming. 8. The final years. Workers at the Homestead Steel Mill were unhappy. Andrew said publicly that unions were okay, but privately he wanted them stopped. He put Henry Frick in charge of talks with the union. Then Andrew went on holiday to Scotland. Frick told the workers they must take less money and leave the union. The workers said no. Frick locked them out of the mill. The workers started a strike. Frick hired armed guards called Pinkertons. On July 6, 1892, there was a big fight between the guards and the workers. 9 workers and 7 guards died. Soon after, the state army arrived and helped the company take back the mill. The union lost its power for many years. This event hurt Andrew's name very much. Many people thought he was a coward because he was away in Scotland. Andrew tried to blame Frick for the violence. He said it would not have happened if he was there. But letters show that Andrew knew Frick's plan and told him to do whatever was needed. Andrew and Frick argued more after Homestead. Frick was angry that Andrew blamed him. Frick left the company. He took Andrew to court over money from his shares. They finally agreed on a payment, but their friendship was over. Andrew was getting older. In 1901, he sold his company, Carnegie Steel. The buyer was the rich banker J.P. Morgan. Andrew got $480 million. This made him the richest man in the world at that time. Andrew stopped working in business. He spent his final years giving away his huge fortune. He wrote about his idea called the Gospel of Wealth. He believed rich people must use their money to help society. He paid for thousands of free libraries, schools, and universities. Carnegie Hall in New York City was also his gift. Before he died, Andrew tried to become friends again with Frick, but Frick refused angrily. What do you think was the main reason Andrew gave away so much money?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.